Hello and welcome to this face-off video, this versus video between the Spyderco Squeak in the left corner, well, side, and the Böker Plus Subcom 42 in titanium. This was requested by Tyler Rayson. It is YouTube. You request the video, a versus, whatever, and I will try and fulfill that request. Because it's YouTube, it's what you want to see. So well, let's get straight in there with some comparisons. They're both very similar knives, as you can see, size-wise. The thing that really strikes me, one, is just how tiny the Squeak is. It's just tiny. It's just really, really tiny and just delicate. The Subcom, it's something about that blade shape. It's just something about it all being blade. It's kind of does look more like a weapon. Which can be a positive or a negative. It can swing both ways in your favour. The handle scales. Let's talk about the handle scales. On the Spyderco Squeak, we have the ever popular handle scale used by Spyderco, the FRN handle scale. The fiberglass reinforced nylon, very, very lightweight, and in this particular model, no liners. You don't need any liners. Why would you need liners? It's strong enough as it is, and it's very lightweight, and it's got nice texturing on there as well. The Subcom 42 has these titanium handle scales. Very slippery, not your normal titanium. I'd go as far as to have your little magnet test on this one, just to see how pure of titanium it really is. But it does have these cutouts, which is excellent, so that does give you more purchase. And there's a little bit of jimping on the redundant locking bar, because remember this is non-locking, and there's jimping on the there, you take your pick, there's jimping. So handle scales, it depends. If you're a titanium nut, probably the Subcom's for you. If you're not really too fussed and weight is an issue, probably better off going with the FRN. But personally, I prefer the FRN just because of there's a lot more texture on there. But then again, I do like titanium as a handle scale. I think it's if it's done well, it can work, and it's very classy looking knife. Don't know if my classy knife video's up yet. Probably is. Go check it out. I think this knife is in it. I think it is. Deployment. Not really a big issue for two UK legal to carry knives. You're not going to be deploying these fast, and if you are, that may result in a loss of bladder control from nearby observers. So deployment, the Böker Subcom stops at 90 degrees and then goes all the way. Does have an ambidextrous thumb stud, which by the looks of it is actually ambidextrous. I mean, you can change that around to the other side and have your taut screw showing. I think, I've never done it, but I think you could probably do that. But you can open this with your left hand. However, the pocket clip is only right side carry, but it does give you the option of having it up or down, or you can even take the pocket clip off totally and just have it as kind of like a credit card sized knife. It's a little bit thick for that, but you can do that, and you may have to do that if showing to an officer that it doesn't lock, but that's just a point. The pocket clip on the Spyderco, I think, is much better. Yes, it is. It's right or left side carry, but it is tip up only, which is good. And it's reversible. It's the same wire clip. It looks a little bit odd because of the size of it. It's almost the size of the whole knife. but it's a very nice pocket clip, and from the uneducated knife observer, they would think that you're just carrying a cartridge pen, or some kind of posh pen in your pocket. Whereas I don't know, maybe people would think you're carrying a money clip. I mean, it can be used as a money clip. I know people that do use it as a money clip. So that gives you the option there. Especially useful as a money clip in America, where you have your $1 bills or a buck. Whereas here, you can't be putting any £1 or £2 coins in there, unfortunately. Pocket clip wise, I have to give it to the Squeak. I really would, just because of its effect on people, and it's just a very decent pocket clip. But anyway, that's just personal preference. Locking mechanism, there is no locking mechanism. The Spyderco Squeak is... I went on to deployment. I've skipped a few things. Back to deployment. I apologise about that. I might edit that. But deployment for the Böker, as I said, ambidextrous, not too difficult. Stops at 90 degrees. It's okay. It's okay deployment. Deployment for the Spyderco, quite loose. Medium retention when it's deployed, but it's not much of an issue because you put your finger in the choil and it stops the blade from moving around too much. But deployment is fine. I don't think you can... Just going to prove myself wrong. Yeah, it's going to be semi-difficult to deploy that quick, but as I say, it's a slip it. You're not really... Yeah, there's no real need to deploy that too quick, and it kind of negates the whole unintimidating factor if you were to try and deploy it quickly. It kind of negates that. But there we go, there's the deployment. Non-locking, they're both non-locking, they're both UK legal to carry. The Spyderco is obviously non-locking. You can show that to an officer or whoever, and absolutely fine. There's no locking mechanism whatsoever. Nothing hidden there. The Böker, although it is a non-locking, all they've done, I say all they've done, they have in the frame lock area, they've put a little ball detent there, and they've made sure that the frame locking bar doesn't move over. So that's going to be, I mean, looking at it, it looks like there's a frame lock there, so you probably have to go into more detail to say why that doesn't lock, but you don't disengage anything to push the blade back, as you can see. So as long as they get that should be fine. But they're both UK legal, so there's no lock. They are slippets. The weight of them, I do have some information nearabouts. Sorry about that. I had to find my information. It doesn't say anywhere on the internet easily to find the weight of the Squeak. But I have found it, and it is 1.6 ounces or 46 grams, and the weight of the Böker is 63 grams. So the Böker, understandably, it would weigh more. I wasn't completely convinced that it would weigh that much more, but yeah, you're basically looking at 17 grams. Yeah. Win at maths, finally. So, here we go. The Böker weighs more. It is down to the titanium. Titanium is quite lightweight anyway, but not as light as the fiberglass. And I do think that the blade has some part to play. It's probably a third larger overall, maybe even a half, 50% larger, but that all adds up to the weight. The torque screws, how the pocket clip, the thumb stud even, obviously look at the cutout of that decreases the weight as well. You see, look how much steel is taken off. That's another good thing why Spyderco are ahead of the game, because they not only cut steel out of the blade, which saves on weight and gives you an opening mechanism. They're kind of like two birds one stone. They save on the weight, they give you a deployment method, whereas another knife company will not take any steel out of the blade and actually add weight to it. And I never really looked at it that way until I just looked at these this close. But anyway, that's that. The Squeak weighs more, so I have to give it to, the Squeak weighs less, so I have to give it to the Squeak. The steel, it's not difficult. The steel on the Squeak is the N690CO, and that is high edge retention and corrosion resistance. It is made in Maniago, Italy. It's basically the Austrian equivalent of S30V, more or less. It might not keep its edge as long, but it's very, very similar. Böker Plus, on the other hand, the Subcom, we have the 440C steel, which is still high-end stainless steel. It's still high-end, so it's still one of the highest-end stainless steels. In kind of like the low to medium quality steels. It will still keep an edge okay, and it's not too difficult to sharpen, but there we go. Steel, have to give it to the Squeak on that occasion. Blade shape. Now this is a personal opinion, I reckon, and your mileage may vary on this. It's different circumstances for different people. The blade shape for the Böker might be more useful depending on what you're doing. You can really get in there and use that huge belly of the blade, really get in and do some work. Likewise, penetration, it's very smooth. The Squeak is less so. There's still a fair bit of a belly, but it's very really for the smaller tasks, in my opinion. I wouldn't put this through too many heavy tasks, even though it doesn't have the better steel. But blade shape, I'd probably give it to the Böker, just because of the huge belly. There's just so much of that belly on there. I mean, it was difficult for me to make that decision, but the Squeak, it does have a small kind of leaf-shaped blade, and they are very, very good. I just can't get over the belly, the Böker's belly. Are these sheeple friendly? I've whipped this out, not whipped it out, but I've very carefully, after warning, I've gone, I'm just going to use my knife, I'm going to deploy it now. Do that. Instantly, that's an offensive weapon. No, it's not. It's a tool that I'm going to use to get round this problem that we have, whatever the problem or task may be. The Squeak, I've had that less so much. I've had, oh, that's a cute knife you've got there, or similar kind of comments. And again, I warn people, I don't just go shh and then, sorry about that noise, but I don't just do that and then start using it. I will actually, pre-warn people, because they may have weak bladders and all the rest of it. But anyway, sheeple friendly wise, I definitely have to give it to the Squeak, especially if you get the pink one. If you get the pink one, well, you'll just be friend of the people, I reckon. But anyway, sheeple friendly wise, definitely the Squeak. So sorry Böker, for many people you are quite intimidating, the Subcom. Handle material, I mentioned this near the start of the video. I have to give it to the FRN just because it's lighter, and all the rest of it. It's got the nice texture in. Pocket clip, I did mention at the start when I went off on my tangent, I do prefer the Squeak's pocket clip. Ergonomics, I do prefer the Squeak. It's a small knife and your pinky is kind of like left out on the end, and I've got medium-large hands, but I do think it's very comfortable, and it has the jimping on the choil and the spine of the blade. The Böker, not that comfortable in my opinion. The jimping is just too aggressive on the handle scales. The jimping goes all over the place on the spine, and the spine of the handle scales, and it's not like you're holding a cactus or anything. It's just like you're holding like some kind of bumpy, hard thing. Whereas the Squeak is very accommodating, very soft in a way. So I have to give it to the Squeak. Aesthetics, this is a personal opinion as well. I mean, I like the Subcom. I have to give it to the Subcom on this one, just because the Squeak is nice, but it does fall into a lot of Spyderco's designs, and it's just a little bit boring in my opinion. But it's functional, and the rest of the design is absolutely fine, but it does look like very other similar Spydercos, whereas Chadlos Banos, you can have lots of different knife designs by him, and they can just be very, very different. But I mean, design wise, the Spyderco does what it's meant to do, so therefore it would win the design kind of like rule. But in terms of like creating a knife that is out there and eye-catching and not like anything that you've kind of seen before, Chadlos Banos, he really is a star in that. And this is aesthetics. I prefer the look of the Subcom. Place where they're made, and then I'll talk about the price. The Böker Plus, like all Böker Plus knives, including the very expensive $150 or $200 Böker Plus Epicenter, so that is an expensive knife, and that is a Böker Plus knife, with the titanium handle scales and the VG10 blade steel. That is made in China. This is made in China. The Spyderco Squeak is made in Maniago, Italy. Not just Italy, but Maniago, so they go a little bit further. And I have heard many stories of workmanship on Böker Plus knives, probably because they are made in China, but some of their quality control issues have been a bit hit or miss. Whereas Spyderco, if you get one from, I've never had any problems with any Spydercos, whether they were made from China, America, Japan, Maniago, you name it, Taiwan, they've been absolutely fine, spot on. Whereas Böker, I haven't had too many issues with Böker, but I have to give it to the Spyderco being made in Maniago. I hope they use Maniago more, because I like the steel of that as well. Finally, the price. What are you meant to be paying for these knives? For these small knives, if you have to pick one, well, the price for the Squeak is £48, and the price for the Subcom 42 is £44. I trust you to go on knife websites and have a look at what they are in dollars, because I don't think I put them in dollars in my original reviews. But essentially, the Squeak costs more. It's not made in China. It has the very good blade steel. It's a nice design. Whereas the Böker Plus is made in China, and they're making a larger markup despite it being titanium. It is cheaper, so it's up to you. Do you want a titanium handle scale knife with 440C for less money than a Spyderco Squeak, or do you want a Spyderco Squeak that has unquestionably better steel and better workmanship and is more sheeple friendly and is lighter? There's pros and cons for both. Personally, if I only have the money for one, I'm biased, so I'd go for the Spyderco. Why would I go for the Spyderco? Just because, like a lot of Böker knives, well, Böker Plus knives, they have some really good designs, but a lot of the time they're poorly executed. By that I mean, sometimes, like Chadlos Banos makes some really good designs, but then they're poorly executed by being made in China or other, and they might not have the best blade steel and other little niggly bits like quality control. Whereas Spyderco doesn't. The design is very important, but where it is made and the people in those factories and things are equally as important, I think, because I've never really had a problem. So I'd go for the Squeak, even though it's more expensive. but it's got the better blade steel, and it's a UK legal knife, so surely you want it to be as sheeple friendly as possible, because you want to be carrying this every day. So I'd go for the Squeak. But if you still can't make your mind up with this versus video, like it was difficult for me to, please do check out my individual reviews on both of these, and then that will hopefully, you know, get some more, that'll give you more help in which one to pick. Anyway, if you do agree with me, if you don't, put it in the comments below. Say why. Don't just say, oh yeah, Spyderco all the way, or just put Squeak because, or Subcom because, and that really starts the ball rolling on which you prefer and why. Don't forget to rate the video if you have agreed with a lot of the things I've said, or if you haven't. And if you do subscribe, it really does help me. It helps me keep making these videos and putting out lots of different content. It really does help. Thanks for watching me today. I really do appreciate it. Take care.